amp that nobody knows, yet whoever hears it is in love with the sound. This was built in Germany for a couple years. It's a one-channel amp and it sounds out of this world. So what is this amp? How does it sound? And how come nobody has ever heard about this? So this is the THC Sunset, a 35-watt one-channel head with no master volume and a 3-band EQ. That's all you're gonna get with this amp. It was made by THC, a German boutique company, roughly between 2005 and 2015. And this amp is one of the best amps I've ever heard. Now, not much is known about these amps or about the company THC other than it was actually a bass amp company that did a couple guitar amps. But what I know about this amp is from a friend who actually opened it up and looked at the circuit is that it is a low gain Trainwreck circuit. So it's kind of like the American Trainwreck amp, but a lot less gain and a lot smoother with 4 6v6 power tubes. Now, before we get deeper into what this amp is and how good it sounds with different guitars and pedals and all these things, let me know in the comments what you think this sounds like, because now you know it's a Trainwreck kind of circuit, but what does it sound like to you? Because I feel like this has a pretty unique voice. And what that voice is, I'm going to show you now. Now, the thing you might not realize about the THC Sunset is that I have some sort of history with this amp. In fact, some of my most well-known tunes on the internet, on Instagram, on YouTube, are played with the THC Sunset and this Telecaster. Think about Rise Again, for example. You heard it in the intro. It's a song by my band Shady Bell. The main riff. That's the THC Sunset, but I didn't use the amp back then in the studio. I didn't have the amp. I had only profiles in my Kemper. You've also heard this riff pretty often on my channels. Also, THC Sunset, Telecaster, low tuning. That's the sound. I first stumbled upon the Sunset because I was in the studio in 2014 and a good friend of mine actually owns one of these, and I was immediately floored by how well it responded to single coil guitars, humbucker guitars, and especially how well it responds to pedals. It's an absolute brilliant pedal platform, and that's what I'm going to show you next. See what I mean? It does crystal clear cleans. It breaks up so smoothly and it takes all pedals incredibly well. Am I the only one thinking this would be a perfect Nashville session kind of amp? Which brings me to my opening question. Why is this amp not hugely popular? Why didn't this amp just break through the guitar player mainstream? If it does all these sounds so incredibly well, if it takes pedals incredibly well, if it has this absolute unmatched response, why does nobody know this amp? I guess there's at least two, if not three reasons for that. So I guess the first reason is if you're not an amp company like, let's say, Diesel, who in my opinion is the most important German amp builder, it's hard to break through all the noise that happens in the amp market, because especially in the US, there's so many different amp manufacturers, and pretty much all of them are super good. So companies like THC, who built the Sunset, have a lot of competition in these kinds of markets, and probably they could never break through because there simply was enough supply in other countries with this kind of sound. Another reason could be that boutique amplifiers in general have a pretty bad resale value. So you're paying a lot of money up front to get an amp like this, or let's say a Two-Rock, or a lot of other great boutique amps, but there's often not a lot of demand for these kinds of amps, for the Dr. Z's in the world. And the divided by 11, no, divided by 13 they're called. Divided by 13, so all great amps, but not a lot of demand in the used market, so it's hard to get rid of them if you don't need them anymore. This might be another reason why an amp like the THC Sunset is absolutely unknown in the world of guitar players, but it should be super known because it has an awesome sound. And to me, the reason why I'm doing a video like this is not because I'm sponsored or anything. How could I be sponsored by a company that doesn't exist anymore, right? I do this because I'm 100% convinced that if you guys out there would play a THC Sunset, you would be so inspired by its sound. And hopefully with this video, I can give you a glimpse of what this amp is capable of doing. I hope you learned something today. I hope you like these sounds. I've been Joey, and I'll see you in the next. Bye.